My name is Dr. Raymond Santos. I've been a veterinarian for 57 years, and in the summer of 1992 I found a message scratched on bark left at my clinic door. One word: help. That night, my security cameras captured something impossible, a Bigfoot carrying an injured wolf to my porch. I have the footage, I have the evidence, and I've never shown it to anyone, because the trust those creatures placed in me matters more than proving they exist. Before we begin, I'd love to know, where are you watching this from today? Drop your location in the comments. Now let me tell you what happened in those Colorado mountains. I treated the wolf, and the creature came back. Over the next 8 months, multiple Bigfoot brought me injured animals. A mountain lion with a fractured leg, a bear cub with an infected wound, a deer with an arrow embedded in its shoulder. Each delivery came with a note, crude at first, increasingly sophisticated over time, requesting help. But more than that, the creatures started staying to watch me work, standing outside my clinic windows, observing every movement as I treated the animals they'd brought. They were studying me, learning from me, absorbing veterinary techniques through observation. I realized what was happening. These beings weren't just seeking medical care, they were seeking medical education. They wanted to learn how to treat injury and illness themselves, and I became their teacher. By winter, I was deliberately demonstrating procedures for them, explaining techniques aloud even though they couldn't speak, teaching splinting, bandaging, wound care, medication dosage. The Bigfoot proved to be the most dedicated students I'd ever had. They brought me gifts, carved bone instruments shaped like scalpels and forceps, bundles of medicinal plants they'd identified in the forest, professional respect between healer and students, across species lines. I documented everything. 80 hours of footage showing intelligent beings seeking knowledge, learning medicine, applying what they'd learned to help their own community. Evidence that would revolutionize our understanding of Bigfoot intelligence, tool use, interspecies cooperation, and medical knowledge. But releasing it would betray the trust they placed in me, would expose creatures who came to me vulnerable, seeking help, allowing me to see their community's suffering and their efforts to address it. This is the story of how I became a teacher to Bigfoot, and why I chose to protect their privacy over proving their existence for 31 years. My wife Elena died in 1982, a decade before the Bigfoot found me. She'd been bitten by a dog, routine injury, should have been nothing. We cleaned it, bandaged it, thought we'd handled it properly. 3 days later, the infection had spread. By the time we realized how serious it was, sepsis had set in. She died in the hospital while doctors fought to save her, watching antibiotics fail to stop something that should have been easily treatable. Elena was 42 years old. We'd been married for 18 years. She died from a preventable infection because we didn't act quickly enough, didn't treat aggressively enough, didn't recognize the severity until it was too late. Her death broke something in me, made me understand that delayed treatment, inadequate care, giving up too soon, these things cost lives that could have been saved. I'd been a veterinarian for 20 years by then, good at my job, competent. But after Eleanor died, something shifted. I stopped accepting hopeless cases as actually hopeless, started taking animals other vets had given up on, refused to euthanize when treatment was still possible, even if difficult or expensive. I moved my practice to the mountains in 1985, bought a small property 40 miles from Denver, converted an outbuilding into a clinic. Minimal equipment, what I could afford and transport, but functional for treating the animals in this remote area. Ranchers would bring me livestock with injuries. Wildlife rescue would bring me animals hit by cars, shot by hunters, caught in traps. I treated everything, worked alone, lived alone, dedicated myself completely to preventing the kind of preventable death that had taken Eleanor. My daughter Tyler, named after Elena's father, was in medical school by then. She'd visit occasionally, worried about me living so isolated, working too much, not taking care of myself. "Dad, you're running yourself into the ground," she'd say. "You can't save every animal. Some things aren't treatable." "Everything's treatable if you try hard enough," I'd respond. "Your mother died because we didn't try hard enough. I won't make that mistake again." She'd shake her head, couldn't understand, hadn't watched her mother die from something that should have been routine. By 1992, I was 52 years old and burning out. The work was relentless. Animals arrived at all hours, ranchers calling at 2 a.m. with emergency situations, wildlife rescue dropping off injured animals with no warning. I was good at the work, saved animals other vets had written off. But I was exhausted, lonely, living entirely for the work because I had nothing else. In June, there was a break-in at my clinic. Someone stole medications, painkillers mostly, stuff they could sell. I installed security cameras afterward, basic system, recording to VHS tapes that I'd review weekly to make sure nothing was missing. The cameras were meant to catch thieves, I never imagined they'd capture something that would change my entire understanding of intelligence, compassion, and the desire to prevent suffering. One morning in early July, I arrived at the clinic to find an injured wolf on my porch. Grey wolf, maybe 3 years old, with a badly infected leg wound. The wolf was unconscious, barely breathing, and beside it was a piece of bark with a single word scratched in charcoal: help. I brought the wolf inside immediately, started treatment, cleaned the wound, administered antibiotics, stabilized the animal. It took 6 hours of intensive care, but the wolf survived. That night, I reviewed the security footage. Needed to understand how an unconscious wolf had ended up on my porch with a message asking for help. What I saw was impossible, but it was also undeniably real. I fast-forwarded through the overnight footage. Nothing unusual until 3:47 a.m. Then, movement at the edge of the frame caught my attention. I rewound, played it at normal speed. A figure emerged from the tree line, large, bipedal, moving with purpose toward the clinic. As it got closer to the camera, the details became clearer despite the low-light conditions. A Bigfoot, had to be. 7 feet tall, covered in dark hair, moving upright with a slightly stooped posture. But what stopped my heart was what it was carrying: the wolf, cradled carefully in both arms, like a parent carrying an injured child. The Bigfoot approached my clinic porch slowly, looked around carefully, clearly aware of potential danger, clearly choosing to take this risk anyway. Then it knelt down and placed the wolf gently on the wooden boards. The creature's movements were impossibly tender. It adjusted the wolf's position to make sure it was comfortable, checked to see if the animal was still breathing, then pulled something from the thick fur at its side, the piece of bark with the charcoal message. Placed it deliberately beside the wolf where I'd be sure to find it. The Bigfoot stood, looked at my clinic door for a long moment, as if willing me to find the wolf quickly, then turned and disappeared back into the forest, moving fast once it was out of the camera's immediate range. I sat in my clinic office, watching the tape 3 more times, trying to process what I'd just seen. A Bigfoot had brought me a patient, had recognized that I could help where it couldn't, had risked exposure to humans, the species that hunts and fears it, because saving this wolf was more important than staying hidden. And it had left a message: help, written communication, tool use, evidence of intelligence and reasoning. I examined the wolf I'd treated. The wound was old, maybe 5 days based on infection progression. The creature had been carrying this injured wolf for days, watching it suffer, trying to figure out what to do. And somehow it had learned that my clinic treated injured animals, had decided to trust me with something it clearly cared about. The implications were staggering. Bigfoot not only existed, but had sophisticated reasoning, tool use, written communication, and compassion for other species. I should have reported this immediately, called authorities, shared the footage, alerted researchers. This was scientific discovery of the century, but something stopped me. Some instinct that made me pause and think about what reporting would mean. If I revealed this footage, what would happen? Researchers would flood the area. Hunters would come looking. The military might get involved. The forest would be torn apart searching for these creatures. And that Bigfoot, the one who trusted me enough to bring an injured animal, would be hunted, captured, studied, exploited. It had come to me for help, had placed something vulnerable in my care, had trusted me the way my rancher clients trusted me with their injured livestock. That was sacred. Trust between healer and patient, regardless of species. I made a decision. I would treat any animal the creatures brought me, would document everything privately, but wouldn't report it. Wouldn't betray the trust of a being that had risked everything to save another creature's life. 3 days later, the wolf was recovering well. Infection cleared, wound healing, eating on its own. I'd kept it in a recovery kennel at the clinic, planning to release it once it was fully healed. On the 4th morning, I arrived to find the kennel door open and the wolf gone. Security footage showed the same Bigfoot entering my clinic through an unlocked window at 2:15 a.m., moving carefully through the building, finding the wolf, opening the kennel with remarkable dexterity, hands that could manipulate a simple latch mechanism. The creature examined the wolf carefully, checked the bandaged wound, appeared satisfied with the treatment, then gently picked up the wolf and carried it back out through the window. Before leaving, the Bigfoot left something on my examination table: a river stone, smooth and round, carefully placed where I'd find it. A gift, a thank you, payment for services rendered. I held that stone and understood. This wouldn't be the last time. The creature would come back, would bring other injured animals. We'd established a relationship, healer and caregiver working together across species lines. I labeled a VHS tape, Wolf, July 1992, first patient, and filed it carefully. Started a log, date, animal type, injury, treatment provided, outcome. By the end of that summer, I'd have 20 entries. By the end of the year, 60. All documented, all kept secret, all representing trust I wouldn't betray. If you're listening right now and you've ever had a patient, animal or human, trust you with something precious, you understand what this meant. My colleagues said nobody would care about old veterinary logs, but if you're still here, you're proving them wrong. Hit subscribe. Help me show that stories about trust, about healing, about connection across impossible boundaries, these matter. Now back to Colorado, summer of 1992. 2 weeks after the wolf incident, I found another animal on my porch. A young mountain lion, maybe 6 months old, with a badly fractured front leg. The bone had broken cleanly, probably a fall, but had started healing incorrectly. If left untreated, the lion would be crippled for life. Beside the lion was another bark message, this one more elaborate. Leg broke, fix. The handwriting, if you could call scratches on bark handwriting, was the same as the first message. But the request was more specific, more sophisticated. The creature was learning to communicate with me. I treated the mountain lion, set the bone properly, created a splint, administered pain medication. The surgery took 4 hours. When I finished, I wrote a note of my own and left it on the porch. Need to keep lion here 6 weeks for healing. Will take good care. Ray. That night, I reviewed the security footage. The same Bigfoot had delivered the lion at 4:23 a.m. But this time, something was different. The creature didn't leave immediately after dropping off the lion. Instead, it moved to one of my clinic windows, the one that looked directly into my treatment room, and watched. For 20 minutes, the Bigfoot stood outside my window, observing the empty examination table, the equipment, the supplies, studying the space where I would later treat the mountain lion it had brought. It was trying to understand, trying to figure out how I would help, what I would do. I fast-forwarded through the rest of that day's footage, watched myself treat the lion, setting the bone, creating the splint, administering medication. At 11:47 p.m., movement outside the window caught the camera's attention. The Bigfoot was back, watching me work. I'd been so focused on the delicate surgery that I hadn't noticed the massive figure standing in the darkness outside my window. But there it was, watching every movement, observing how I assessed the fracture, how I realigned the bones, how I constructed the splint, how I wrapped the bandages. It was learning, studying my techniques, absorbing veterinary medicine through observation. Over the next 2 weeks, the pattern became clear. The Bigfoot would deliver an injured animal, I'd treat it. The creature would return that night to watch me work through the window. It never entered while I was present, never made its presence known, just observed silently from outside, learning everything it could. I started adjusting my schedule, would treat animals at night, deliberately working when I knew the creature would be watching, would narrate what I was doing aloud, explaining procedures even though I had no idea if it could understand English. I'm cleaning the wound with antiseptic, I'd say, demonstrating the process. This kills infection, prevents bacteria from spreading. You need to remove all dead tissue first. See how I'm cutting away the damaged flesh? Then clean thoroughly before bandaging. The Bigfoot would watch intently. Sometimes it would shift position to get a better view. Sometimes it would make soft sounds, processing what it was seeing. One night, while I was demonstrating how to properly bandage a wound on a deer that had been caught in barbed wire, I looked directly at the window where the creature stood. Can you see well enough? Do you understand what I'm showing you? The Bigfoot froze, realized I knew it was there. We locked eyes through the glass, man and creature, healer and student. Then, slowly, it nodded. Yes, I see. I understand. Good, I said, because I think you're trying to learn this, trying to help animals yourself, and I'll teach you if you want to learn. Another nod, more emphatic this time. Yes, teach me. The mountain lion healed over 6 weeks. During that time, the Bigfoot visited every single night, watched me change bandages, administer medication, assess healing progress, absorbed everything. When the lion was ready for release, I left a note on my porch. Lion is healed. You can take it home now. It will walk with a slight limp but will survive and hunt normally. Ray. That night, the Bigfoot entered through the unlocked window, retrieved the lion carefully, but before leaving, it did something extraordinary. It approached my examination table where I'd left supplies, rolls of bandaging, antiseptic, splinting materials. The creature examined each item carefully, picked up a roll of gauze, mimicked the wrapping motion I'd demonstrated on the lion's splint. It was practicing, showing me it had learned, that it understood the technique and could replicate it. That's right, I said softly from the doorway where I'd been watching. Wrap firmly, but not too tight. Need to stabilize the injury without cutting off circulation. The Bigfoot startled, turned toward me. We stood maybe 15 feet apart, closest we'd ever been with both of us aware of each other's presence. "It's okay," I said. "I'm not going to hurt you. I'm here to help, to teach you. If you want to learn medicine, I'll show you everything I know." The creature made a soft sound, gestured to itself, then to the supplies, then made a questioning motion. "You want to know if you can take some supplies to practice with?" Nod yes. "Take whatever you need, I'll restock. The knowledge is more important than the materials." The Bigfoot carefully gathered gauze, antiseptic and splinting materials, held them like precious cargo, then looked at me one more time, gratitude clear in those intelligent eyes, and left through the window. I sat in my clinic after it left, understanding what had just happened. I'd gained a student, a being seeking medical knowledge to help its own community, showing the same dedication to preventing suffering that had driven me since Elena's death. These creatures weren't just intelligent. They were compassionate, cared enough about injured animals, and presumably injured members of their own species, to seek out human medical knowledge despite the risks. I thought about Elena, about how she died from inadequate treatment of a treatable condition, about how I'd spent 10 years since then, refusing to let preventable deaths happen on my watch. The Bigfoot was doing the same thing, refusing to let treatable injuries go untreated, seeking knowledge to prevent unnecessary suffering. We were the same, different species, but driven by the same impulse, the healer's calling, the refusal to accept death when life is still possible. I started a new section in my log, teaching sessions, observations on student learning and technique application. If I was going to teach medicine to a Bigfoot, I was going to document it properly. Late summer brought more animals, more injuries, more opportunities for teaching. The Bigfoot came every few days now, sometimes bringing patients, sometimes just coming to watch me work on animals others had brought, ranchers' livestock, wildlife rescues cases. But something changed. The creature started staying inside during teaching sessions, would enter through the window and position itself in the corner of my treatment room, watching from closer proximity, learning better angles, seeing details it couldn't catch through glass. I acted like this was completely normal, would explain procedures as I worked, demonstrate techniques, answer questions I imagined it might have, even though it couldn't verbalize them. "This is a suture needle. See how it's curved? That lets you pass through tissue without having to go straight down. Watch how I angle it." I'd demonstrate slowly, deliberately, making sure the creature could see every detail. The Bigfoot absorbed everything, started bringing a leather pouch where it collected samples, pieces of suture material, small amounts of antiseptic in salvaged bottles, bandaging samples, building its own medical kit from what I provided and what it could find or make. One night it brought me something, a crude surgical tool carved from bone, shaped like a scalpel, surprisingly sharp, with a handle wrapped in plant fiber for grip. "You made this?" I asked, examining it. The creature nodded, gestured to show how it had crafted the tool, clearly wanting my assessment. "This is good work. The blade is sharp, the handle is ergonomic. This would function as a basic scalpel for emergency field surgery. Well done." The Bigfoot made a pleased sound, took the tool back carefully, added it to its collection. It was building a medical practice, learning from me and adapting the knowledge to materials available in its environment. In early autumn, the Bigfoot brought me a patient that changed everything. Another Bigfoot. I arrived at my clinic one morning to find a juvenile Bigfoot on my porch, maybe 10 years old in human equivalent, unconscious, with a severe infection in its arm. The wound was deep, festering, clearly getting worse. Beside it was a note. "My son, dying. Help, please." B. The adult Bigfoot had signed the note, given itself a name or at least an initial, was communicating that this wasn't just any injured animal. This was personal. This was family. I examined the young Bigfoot immediately. The infection was serious. Sepsis risk was high. This child needed aggressive treatment or it would die, but I'd never treated a Bigfoot before. Didn't know the physiology, the appropriate medication dosages, the potential complications. This was the ultimate trust. A parent bringing me its dying child and hoping I'd figure out how to save it. I made decisions based on great ape physiology, gorillas, chimpanzees, the closest analogs I could think of, administered broad-spectrum antibiotics, cleaned and debrided the wound, monitored vital signs obsessively. That night, the adult Bigfoot didn't watch from the window. It came inside, sat beside its child, placed one massive hand on the young one's chest, the same gesture I'd seen countless parents make with sick children. "I'm doing everything I can," I told the parent. "The infection is serious, but the antibiotics should work. I need to keep him here for at least 3 days, monitor him closely." The parent looked at me with eyes that showed fear, hope, gratitude, made a soft sound, then settled into the corner of my treatment room, clearly intending to stay for the duration. We spent 3 days together, Parent and healer, both keeping vigil over a sick child. I worked, administered medications, changed dressings. The parent watched, learned, occasionally made soft sounds to its unconscious child. On the second night, the young Bigfoot's fever broke. By the third day it was conscious, weak but recovering. When it was safe for them to leave, the parent carefully lifted its child, looked at me with such intensity, made a sound, then pointed to itself, to me, then pressed both hands over its heart. The message was unmistakable. You saved my child. You are family now. After that, the gifts became more sophisticated, more personal. The parent Bigfoot, I started thinking of it as B from the signature, brought me carved bone instruments, scalpels, forceps, even a crude needle holder, each one crafted with remarkable precision, designed to mimic the tools I'd used during teaching sessions, but also medicinal plants, carefully bundled, dried properly, labeled with crude drawings showing what they treated. B had been observing what plants I used for different conditions, then finding those same plants in the forest and bringing me fresh supplies. It was becoming my colleague, not just my student anymore, my professional partner. We were exchanging medical knowledge, sharing resources, working together to treat injured animals and community members. I reciprocated with human medical supplies B couldn't make or find: antibiotic ointments, sterile sutures, pain medications, bandaging materials that were superior to natural alternatives. One night, B brought me something that made me cry: a necklace made from carved wooden beads. Each bead had a symbol, crude but recognizable: a wolf, a mountain lion, a young Bigfoot, all the patients we'd treated together, a memorial, a record of lives saved through our partnership. Thank you, I said, accepting it. This means more to me than you know. B made a soft sound, touched my shoulder gently. We understood each other. B's written notes became increasingly sophisticated, started using more words, more complex sentences, asking specific medical questions. Bear cub, broken tooth, pull or leave. I'd write back: if tooth is baby tooth, it will fall out naturally. If permanent tooth and broken, may need to pull to prevent infection. Can you tell which type? Next note: small tooth, think baby, we'll wait. We were having medical consultations through written notes. B was describing patients, I was providing diagnostic guidance. B was applying treatment recommendations in the forest. One night B brought me sketches, crude drawings showing different types of wounds, different injury patterns, asking me to label them with treatment approaches. I spent an hour annotating the drawings. This type of wound, clean edges, use sutures. This type, jagged edges, clean thoroughly, let heal naturally. This type, deep puncture, high infection risk, needs antibiotics. B studied my notes carefully, copied them onto bark in its own handwriting, creating a field guide to wilderness medicine. It was building a medical reference library, using my knowledge combined with its own observations to create treatment protocols for its community. Late autumn brought a crisis that tested everything we'd built. B arrived at my clinic in obvious distress. No injured animal this time, just frantic gestures, urgent sounds. Come, now, emergency. I grabbed my emergency medical kit, followed B into the forest. We moved fast, B accommodating my slower human pace but clearly desperate for speed. 3 miles into the woods, we reached what appeared to be a Bigfoot dwelling area. Several structures made from branches and leaves, and in one of them, an elderly Bigfoot lying motionless. B gestured frantically at the elder, made sounds that clearly meant dying, help, please. I examined the elder quickly: weak pulse, labored breathing, extreme dehydration, but no obvious injury. This was illness, not trauma. How long has she been like this? I asked. B held up fingers. 3 days. I administered IV fluids, something I'd never done on a Bigfoot before, but desperation drove adaptation. Gave broad-spectrum antibiotics in case of infection, monitored vitals. Over 6 hours, the elder's condition stabilized, the pulse strengthened, breathing eased, color improved. She would live. Not today, anyway. B made a sound I'd never heard before, something between sob and laugh, relief and gratitude mixed together. The elder was family, mother or grandmother, I guessed from B's intense emotional response. Other Bigfoot appeared from the surrounding forest, 5 of them all watching me work, all seeing that I'd helped, that I could be trusted not just with their injured but with their dying, with their most vulnerable. One by one, they approached me, touched my shoulder, made soft sounds. Welcome, thank you, family. I'd been accepted into their community, not as a curiosity or threat, but as a healer, as someone who served the same purpose I'd always served, refusing to accept preventable death when treatment was still possible. Winter arrived early that year. By late November, snow was heavy in the mountains. My clinic became harder to access, ranchers visited less frequently, but the Bigfoot continued bringing patients. Injuries were more frequent now. Winter was harsh. Resources were scarce. Accidents happened when animals and Bigfoot alike were desperate for food. That's when the problem started. One of my rancher clients, a man named Jack Morrison, noticed tracks near his property. Large tracks. Too large for any known animal. He mentioned it during a visit to my clinic. "Doc, you seen anything unusual in the woods? Something big moving around? Got tracks on my land that don't make sense." "Probably a bear," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "They get big sometimes. These aren't bear tracks, wrong shape, wrong gait pattern." He pulled out a photo. "See? Two-legged, human-like, but massive." My blood ran cold. He'd photographed Bigfoot prints. Clear evidence. Right near where B's community lived. Could be a hoax, I suggested. "People fake these things all the time." Jack shook his head. "Nah, these are real. Fresh. Multiple sets. Like a family group. I'm thinking about calling some researchers. Might be worth documenting." After he left, panic set in. If researchers came, they'd flood the area. They'd find the Bigfoot community. They'd discover my teaching relationship with B. Everything would be exposed. The trust we'd built, healer and patient, teacher and student, colleague and colleague, would be destroyed by scientific curiosity and media exploitation. I left a note on my porch that night. "B. Danger. Human found tracks. Researchers may come. You need to be more careful." Ray B. arrived within hours. Read the note. Made distressed sounds. Gestured questions. "What do we do?" "Stop coming. Leave area." "I don't know," I admitted. "If you stop bringing patients, animals will die. But if you keep coming, you risk exposure. You risk everything." B. looked torn. Made gestures showing the dilemma. Community members injured, needing help, but also danger from humans discovering them. "Can you be more careful? Cover tracks better. Come only when absolutely necessary." B. nodded, but we both knew it wasn't sustainable. Winter meant more injuries, more desperate situations, more reasons to risk exposure for the sake of treating the sick and injured. That night, B didn't come to watch me work. Stayed away, trying to protect the community by reducing contact. But 2 days later, an injured juvenile appeared on my porch, badly hurt, leg caught in a trap, infection setting in. The note said, "No choice. He dies without help. B." I treated the juvenile immediately, but I knew Jack Morrison was still looking, still taking photos, still considering calling researchers. Our time was running out. For 3 weeks, B stayed away. Sent other community members with injured animals. I recognized different individuals by size and features, but didn't come personally. Was protecting itself by maintaining distance, trying to make the community less visible. The injured animals kept arriving. A mother with a festering wound, an adolescent with a dislocated shoulder, an elder with pneumonia, but no teaching sessions, no learning opportunities, no partnership, just emergency treatment and quick retreats back into the forest. I watched security footage of these brief encounters, saw how the Bigfoot who delivered patients would look at my clinic windows longingly, clearly wanting to stay and observe, but forcing themselves to leave quickly for safety. The community was suffering from more than just their injuries. They were suffering from the loss of medical education, from the interrupted learning that could help them treat conditions themselves instead of always depending on me. And I was suffering too. I'd lost my student, lost my colleague, lost the being who'd made me feel like Elena's death had meaning, that my refusal to accept preventable loss had extended beyond just human medical care into something bigger. Christmas Eve, heavy snow. I was alone in my clinic, treating a rancher's horse that had colic. It was late, nearly midnight. I heard a sound at the window, looked up to see B standing there in the snow, looking miserable and conflicted. I opened the door immediately. "Come in." "You're freezing." B entered hesitantly, looked around as if remembering better times, made a soft, mournful sound. "I've missed you too," I said. "The teaching sessions, the partnership, everything we built." B gestured toward the forest, made sounds and gestures that painted a picture. Community members injured, B trying to treat them alone with limited knowledge, some recovering but some dying because B didn't know enough yet. Learning interrupted at critical stage. "You need more teaching," I said. Emphatic nod. "Yes," desperately. "But the rancher is still looking, still taking photos, still talking about calling researchers." B made a gesture that broke my heart, showed me treating patients, showed teaching sessions, then showed researchers finding them, showed the community scattering, then showed injured Bigfoot dying alone because they'd lost access to medical care. The choice was impossible. Continue teaching and risk exposure, or stop and watch patients die. I thought about Elena, about how she died because treatment came too late, because we hadn't acted aggressively enough when we had the chance. I'd spent 12 years refusing to let that happen again, refusing to give up on patients when treatment was still possible, refusing to accept preventable death. B was making the same choice, risking everything, community safety, personal freedom, maybe life itself, because letting treatable injuries go untreated was worse than the risk of exposure. "You're right," I said. "The teaching is more important than safety. Come back, bring patience. I'll keep teaching. We'll be as careful as we can, but we won't let fear stop us from saving lives." B made a sound that was clearly relief and gratitude, touched my shoulder. We were partners again. "I'll handle Jack Morrison," I said. "I'll convince him the tracks are fake or misidentified. I'll protect you however I can, but you keep coming, keep learning, keep saving your community. That's what matters." B nodded, then made a gesture. "Together. We do this together." "Yes," I said. "Together. Healer and healer. The way it should be." I'm sharing this now because my daughter asked me why I never published these findings, why I kept evidence of Bigfoot intelligence and medical knowledge hidden for 31 years. If you're watching this and you understand that some trust is more sacred than proof, that some relationships matter more than recognition, subscribe. Help me show that stories about honoring trust, about choosing partnership over fame, these matter. Now, winter 1992. After B returned, our teaching sessions resumed with new intensity. B was hungry for knowledge, desperate to learn everything quickly to make up for lost time. One night, I was treating a deer with a deep laceration. B watched from inside the clinic, taking notes on bark with charcoal. Before I began suturing, B made a questioning sound, gestured. "Why wait? Why not stitch immediately?" "Good question," I said. "Watch." I spent 20 minutes cleaning the wound thoroughly, removing debris, checking for foreign objects, assessing tissue damage. "If you suture dirty wounds, you trap infection inside," I explained. "The skin heals over contaminated tissue. Infection spreads internally, where you can't reach it. Patient gets worse, not better. Always clean first, always assess fully, only then treat." B nodded, understanding, made notes, showed me a drawing. Previous patient, B had sutured too quickly, wound got infected. Learning from mistake. Exactly. The hardest lesson for any healer: patience, thoroughness. The urge to fix immediately is strong, but observation and proper preparation prevent complications that quick action creates. Over following sessions, B demonstrated improved technique, would bring patients, but before treating, would carefully examine and document what it observed. Learning that diagnosis comes before treatment, that understanding the full picture prevents mistakes. Midwinter brought a young Bigfoot with a minor laceration, clean wound, no infection, already scabbing over. B brought the juvenile to me, clearly intending for me to suture it, but the wound didn't need sutures, would heal fine on its own. "Not everything requires intervention," I explained. "The body heals itself remarkably well when given the chance. This wound is clean, shallow, already forming healthy scab tissue. If we suture it, we introduce needle punctures, create additional trauma, risk introducing infection. Best treatment is sometimes no treatment. Just keep it clean and let natural healing proceed." B looked skeptical, gestured, but is healer. Should heal. A good healer knows when not to interfere, knows when the body's own processes are working properly. Intervention should only happen when natural healing is insufficient or going wrong. Otherwise, we cause more harm than help. I bandaged the juvenile's wound loosely, just enough to keep it clean, and sent them away. 2 weeks later, B returned with the juvenile, removed the bandage to show me, perfectly healed. Clean scar tissue, no complications. Late winter brought an elderly Bigfoot with terminal illness. Cancer, I suspected, based on symptoms. Cachexia, weakness, masses visible under the skin. B brought the elder to me with desperate hope. "Fix this. Make better." I examined carefully. "I can't cure this," I said gently. "The illness is too advanced. Treatment would only prolong suffering without providing cure." B made distressed sounds, gestured. "Must try. Must save." "No," I said firmly. "Sometimes our job isn't to save, it's to prevent unnecessary suffering, to make the inevitable less painful, to offer dignity and comfort when cure isn't possible." I gave the elder pain medication. Strong doses, enough to keep it comfortable. "This is all I can do. Make the remaining time easier. Let the elder die without agony." That's healing too. Not fixing everything, but reducing suffering when fixing isn't possible. B watched the elder relax into peaceful drowsiness, made a soft, sad sound. Understood, but didn't like it. "I know," I said. "Accepting that some things can't be fixed. That's the hardest lesson. But compassion means knowing when to stop fighting. and start comforting. When to shift from cure to care. The elder died 3 days later. B brought me the body, clearly grieving, but also made a gesture. Thank you. Elder died peacefully. No pain at end. That's what we owe the dying, I said. Dignity, comfort, presence, not false hope or futile interventions, but honest care until the end. Early spring brought disaster. A rockslide injured multiple community members simultaneously. B arrived at my clinic frantic, making urgent gestures. Many hurt, all need help, come now. I grabbed my kit and followed B into the forest. Found 5 injured Bigfoot, 2 with minor cuts, 1 with a broken arm, 1 with a severe head injury, 1 with a chest wound and labored breathing. B tried to lead me to the head injury first, the most dramatic-looking injury, blood everywhere. No, I said, that one can wait. Head wounds bleed heavily but aren't always most serious. We treat based on severity and survival probability, not appearance. I went to the one with labored breathing, examined quickly. Pneumothorax, lung collapsed from broken rib. This one first, will die within hours without treatment. The head injury can survive longer. I worked frantically, stabilized the chest wound, reinflated the lung with an improvised chest tube, got breathing normalized, then moved to the broken arm, set the bone, splinted it, then the head injury cleaned, assessed for skull fracture, bandaged. The minor cuts I left for last. They could wait, weren't life-threatening. B watched everything, clearly learning triage principles. When we finished, I explained formally, multiple casualties, limited resources. You treat life-threatening injuries first, then serious but stable injuries, then minor injuries last. Save the most lives possible with available time and supplies. Hard choices but necessary. B made notes, drew diagrams showing triage categories, asked questions about how to assess severity quickly, learning battlefield medicine, wilderness medicine, the harsh mathematics of emergency care. Late spring, B brought a younger adult Bigfoot to one of our sessions, made introductory gestures. This is CC wants to learn too. I understood. B was recruiting another student, expanding medical knowledge through the community by teaching others what it had learned from me. The best way to solidify your own knowledge is to teach it to someone else, I said. When you explain concepts to C, you'll understand them more deeply yourself, and C will learn from both of us. B nodded enthusiastically. During that session, I demonstrated a procedure, treating an infected wound. Then I had B explain it to C, translating my English medical terminology into whatever gestural language they used. Watching B teach was remarkable. The creature had absorbed not just the techniques, but the teaching approach. Patient demonstration, careful attention to detail, checking for understanding, allowing practice with supervision. C learned quickly under B's instruction. The two of them practiced on training materials I provided, expired medical supplies, simulation models I'd rigged up for educational purposes. This is how medical knowledge spreads, I told them. One healer teaches another. That healer teaches 2 more. Knowledge multiplies. Your community becomes healthier because multiple individuals can provide care. B and C both made sounds of understanding. Over following weeks, C brought 2 more students. B's original knowledge learned from me was spreading through the community, creating a network of trained healers. Summer arrived with a case that broke my heart. A young Bigfoot, maybe 3 years old, with a genetic condition I couldn't identify or treat. Progressive weakness, deteriorating neurological function, inevitable decline. B brought the child to me desperately, completely convinced I could fix anything. After all, I'd saved so many. Surely I could save this one too. I examined the child thoroughly, ran every test I could, but I knew this was beyond my capability, beyond anyone's capability with available medical knowledge. I can't help this one, I said, the words physically painful to speak. The condition is genetic, progressive, fatal. I don't have the knowledge or tools to treat it. B made sounds of disbelief, denial, showed me all our past successes. Wolf, mountain lion, injured Bigfoot, elders, juveniles, all saved. Why not this one? Because medicine has limits, I said. I know how to treat trauma, infection, acute illness, but genetic conditions, progressive neurological disease, these are beyond my expertise, beyond current medical capability. I can't fix everything, B, no healer can. B looked devastated. This was the first time I'd admitted limitation, the first time I'd said, I can't help. I wish I could, I continued. I wish my knowledge extended to every condition, but it doesn't. And pretending I can help when I can't would be dishonest, would give false hope. The best I can offer is palliative care, keeping the child comfortable as the disease progresses. B made anguished sounds, but slowly, reluctantly, accepted the truth. Understood that even skilled healers have boundaries. that some conditions remain beyond treatment, despite best efforts. The child died 2 months later. B brought me the body, grieving but also grateful that I'd been honest, that I hadn't promised false cures or subjected the child to futile interventions. Knowing your limits is part of being a good healer, I said, at the grave B had dug. Admitting when you can't help takes more courage than pretending you can fix everything. Your community needs healers who are honest about boundaries, not ones who promise miracles they can't deliver. B nodded, made a gesture. Understood. We'll remember. We'll teach others this lesson too, that knowledge has edges, that honesty about limitation is part of competent care. By midsummer, I was 53 years old and feeling it. The late nights, the emergency calls, the intense teaching sessions, they were taking a toll. My hands weren't as steady, my eyes weren't as sharp, I was slower, more tired, needing recovery time I hadn't needed before. B was aging too. The creature had to be in its 40s or 50s, middle-aged for a Bigfoot, I guessed. Movements were less fluid, occasional stiffness, grey spreading through the fur at a faster rate. We were both aware of time's passage, both understanding that this partnership, teacher and student, healer and healer, wouldn't last forever. One evening, we were treating a fox with a broken leg. Routine procedure we'd done dozens of times, but my hands shook slightly while setting the bone. B noticed, made a concerned sound. I'm getting old, I admitted. Won't be able to do this forever. Eventually my hands will shake too much for surgery. My eyes will be too weak for detailed work. You need to learn everything you can while I'm still capable of teaching it. B made a sound that was clearly distressed. Gestured, but need you. Community needs you. The community needs knowledge, not me specifically. That's why I'm teaching you. So medical care continues, even after I'm gone. You'll be the healer then. You'll teach others. The knowledge will persist beyond both of us. B looked at its own aging hands, made a gesture. I get old too. Then what? Then C becomes the primary healer, and C teaches others. Knowledge passes forward through generations. That's how medicine survives, not through individual healers, but through teaching lineages. We worked in thoughtful silence, both of us aware that our time together was finite, that we needed to make every session count. The formal distance we'd maintained early on had dissolved completely. B would touch my shoulder in greeting, would steady my hands during difficult procedures, would sit close during teaching sessions, sharing warmth during cold nights. One evening, I was exhausted after a particularly difficult surgery, sat heavily in my chair, feeling every one of my 53 years. B approached, placed both massive hands on my shoulders and gently massaged. The same gesture of comfort and care that human healers use with each other after difficult shifts. Thank you, I said, for everything, for trusting me, for learning, for becoming not just a student but a colleague and friend. B made a soft sound, rested its forehead against the top of my head briefly. A gesture of affection I'd seen it use with its own community members. We'd transcended teacher-student, had become something deeper, family maybe, or the bond that forms between healers who've worked together through countless emergencies, who understand each other's dedication to preventing suffering. Late that summer, B brought me something extraordinary, a complete medical kit. Everything I'd taught over 18 months, assembled into one organized collection. Carved bone instruments matching every tool I'd demonstrated, pouches of medicinal plants, properly identified and preserved, bandaging materials, both natural and salvaged, crude but functional splints. Even a small pouch of antiseptic B had learned to make from tree sap and medicinal plants. B presented this kit formally, made gestures showing, "This is what you taught, this is what I built, this is your legacy carried forward." I examined each item. The craftsmanship was remarkable, every tool functional, every material properly prepared. B had taken human medical knowledge and adapted it completely to wilderness resources and Bigfoot community needs. "This is incredible," I said. "You've created a complete wilderness medical practice. Everything needed for comprehensive care, built from what I taught and what you innovated yourself." B made proud sounds, then gestured. "Pass to C, C will pass to others. Your knowledge will heal for generations." "That's all any teacher hopes for," I said, my voice breaking. "That what they taught matters beyond their own lifetime. You've given me that. Made Elena's death mean something. Made my refusal to accept preventable loss extend beyond just my own practice into your entire community." B understood enough to grasp the weight of what I was saying, made a gentle sound, squeezed my shoulder. We sat together as the sun set, healer and healer, understanding that our formal teaching relationship was nearing its end, that B was ready to practice independently, that the student had become the teacher. Autumn brought the crisis I'd been dreading. Jack Morrison called, excited and insistent. "Doc, I need you to see something. Remember those tracks I found? Got more evidence. Convinced they're real. Got some researchers coming next week to investigate. My heart sank. Jack, I really think you're wasting everyone's time. No, this is real. Got clear photos, got video footage, got multiple witnesses now. This is happening. Thought you'd want to know since it's in your area. After he hung up, I sat in my clinic knowing it was over. Researchers would flood the mountains, would find B's community, would discover everything. I had maybe a week to warn them, to help them disappear before the invasion began. I left an urgent note on my porch. B, critical danger. Researchers coming within 7 days. You must leave area immediately. Take community far away. Hide completely. If discovered, everything we built will be destroyed. Ray B arrived within hours. Read the note. Made distressed sounds that were clearly, but patience. Injured community members, in middle of treatments. I know, I said, but if you stay, you'll lose more than some patients. You'll lose freedom, privacy, safety. Researchers will hunt your entire community. They won't stop. B gestured frantically. Show me patience. Show treatments in progress. Show why leaving is impossible right now. I understood. B had multiple ongoing medical cases. Animals and Bigfoot mid-treatment who would suffer or die if abandoned. The healer's dilemma, choosing between personal safety and patient welfare. Finish critical treatments tonight, I said. Anything that can be stabilized enough for travel, do it. Anything that must be left behind, I couldn't finish the sentence. B made a sound that was clearly anguished, but nodded. Understood. Would make the impossible choices. We worked through the night together. Every patient B had brought or was treating. We assessed, stabilized, made decisions about what could be moved and what had to be left to heal naturally or die. It was brutal triage. Some animals we had to release half-treated, hoping they'd survive. Some Bigfoot community members we provided with supplies and basic training, hoping they could manage their own ongoing care. By dawn, we'd done everything possible. B had a medical kit, had trained several community members, had stabilized the most critical patients enough for emergency relocation. B stood at my clinic door, ready to leave. Made a long series of gestures. Thank you for teaching, thank you for caring, thank you for risking everything to help community. We'll never forget what you did. I'll never forget you either, I said. You were the best student I ever had, the most dedicated healer I've known. Your community is lucky to have you. B touched my face gently, then pulled something from its collection, one of the carved bone scalpels, the very first tool it had made, pressed it into my hand. Keep this. Remember me. Remember what we built together. Always, I whispered. B turned and walked into the forest, moved quickly despite obvious reluctance. At the tree line, it looked back one final time, raised one hand in farewell, the same gesture I'd seen it use with its own community members when parting. I raised mine back, watched until B disappeared completely into the trees. Over the following week, researchers came, trampled through the forest with cameras and recording equipment and excited speculation, found old tracks, abandoned dwelling sites, evidence that something large and bipedal had been living in the area. But no Bigfoot, no current evidence, just historical traces of a community that had already vanished. Jack Morrison was disappointed. The researchers were frustrated. Eventually they left, concluding the area had been abandoned or the evidence was inconclusive. I never saw B again, never received another note, another patient delivery, another chance to teach or collaborate. The clinic felt empty after that. The teaching sessions had given my work meaning beyond just routine veterinary care, had made me feel like Elena's death had led to something bigger, a legacy of preventing suffering that extended across species. Now it was just me again, treating ranchers' livestock and rescue animals, competent but alone. Sometimes I'd review the security footage, watch B learning, practicing, growing from student to colleague to independent healer, proof that what we'd built mattered, that the knowledge had transferred successfully, that somewhere in the mountains, a Bigfoot was treating injured community members using techniques I'd taught, passing that knowledge forward to others, creating a healing lineage that would persist long after both of us were gone. That was enough. Had to be enough. I'm 82 years old now, still practicing veterinary medicine, though I've slowed down considerably. My daughter Tyler took over most of the clinic operations 5 years ago. She's a physician, human medicine, not veterinary, but helps manage the business side. Last year, she found the tapes while organizing my files, 80 hours of security footage, audio logs, photos of notes written on bark, evidence of everything that had happened with B and the Bigfoot community. Dad, she said, holding the tapes, do you know what you have here? This is proof of Bigfoot intelligence, tool use, medical knowledge, interspecies cooperation. This would revolutionize primatology, anthropology, medicine. Everything. I know what it is, I said. Then why haven't you published it? Why keep this hidden? I thought about how to explain, how to make her understand what trust means when someone brings you their dying child and hopes you can save it. Because B trusted me, I said simply. Brought me patients, learned from me, shared family with me. That trust was sacred. Publishing the evidence would betray everything we built, would turn B's community into objects of study instead of beings deserving privacy and respect. Here's what B taught me about medicine, about teaching, about what it means to be a healer. Observation before action. B learned that rushing to treat without proper assessment causes more problems than it solves. That diagnosis precedes treatment. That patience and thoroughness prevent complications. Knowing when not to intervene. B learned that not every condition requires aggressive treatment, that the body heals itself remarkably well when given proper support. That restraint is sometimes the best medicine. Pain management is compassion. B learned that when cure isn't possible, comfort becomes the treatment, that reducing suffering is as important as fixing injuries, that dignified death is better than prolonged agony. Triage saves the most lives. B learned the harsh mathematics of emergency care. Treat the most critical first, the minor last. Make hard choices about resource allocation to maximize survival. Teaching multiplies impact. B learned that passing knowledge forward creates more healers, helps more patients, extends impact beyond individual practice. That legacy is measured in knowledge transferred, not personal achievement. And finally, every healer has limits. B learned that honest acknowledgement of boundaries is more valuable than false promises, that medicine has edges, that some conditions remain untreatable, that admitting I don't know or I can't help is part of competent care. B wasn't just intelligent, wasn't just capable of learning. B was a healer in the truest sense, driven by the same calling that had driven me since Elena's death, the refusal to accept preventable suffering when treatment is possible. B's community had been trying to care for their injured using traditional methods, whatever they'd developed over generations. But B recognized that human medicine offered additional knowledge, recognized that I could teach techniques they didn't have. And rather than letting pride or fear prevent that learning, B made the brave choice. Approach the human healer, risk everything, seek knowledge that could save lives. That's not just intelligence, that's wisdom, courage. The healer's calling transcending species boundaries. I still have the carved bone scalpel B gave me. Keep it in a display case in my clinic. No one knows what it is. They assume it's some artifact I picked up somewhere. But I know. It's the first tool B ever made. Physical proof of knowledge transferred across impossible boundaries. Evidence that teaching matters, that students remember, that what we build together persists. Tyler is right that the tapes would revolutionize scientific understanding, would prove Bigfoot exist, prove they're intelligent, prove they have medical knowledge and teaching capability, but B is somewhere in those mountains, maybe still alive, maybe passed on, possibly still treating injured community members using what I taught, definitely having taught others who are continuing the work. That community deserves privacy, deserves to practice medicine without researchers studying them, deserves the same professional respect any medical community deserves. I chose to honor that, to protect their trust instead of claiming credit for the discovery. If you take anything from this story, take this. Trust is more important than proof. Some relationships matter more than recognition. Some discoveries should remain private because exposing them would destroy what makes them valuable. B trusted me with vulnerable patients, with dying family members, with the community's medical needs. That trust was sacred. Breaking it for scientific fame or personal validation would be the ultimate betrayal. Here's what you need to do. First, if someone trusts you with something precious, patient information, family vulnerability, community secrets, honor that trust absolutely. Don't break confidence for personal gain, no matter how tempting. Second, recognize that teaching is legacy. What you pass forward to students matters more than what you accomplish personally. B's community will heal for generations because of knowledge transferred. That's impact. That's meaning. Third, understand that not everything needs to be proven to be valuable. My relationship with B mattered. The medical care we provided together mattered. The teaching relationship mattered. None of that requires public validation to be real and significant. Elena died because treatment came too late. I spent 30 years refusing to let that happen to anyone, human or animal, under my care. B extended that mission beyond what I could have accomplished alone, took knowledge I taught and applied it to an entire community I'd never meet, prevented deaths I'd never know about, saved lives I couldn't reach. That's what teaching does. Multiplies impact beyond individual capability, creates ripples that extend far beyond what we can measure or observe. The tapes prove B B existed, prove the teaching relationship was real. But they don't prove what matters most, that somewhere in the mountains beings are healing each other, using knowledge that came from a veterinarian who lost his wife and refused to accept preventable death anymore. That matters. That's enough. Share this if you've ever been trusted with something precious and chosen to honor that trust over personal benefit. If you've ever taught someone something that mattered more than getting credit for it. Comment if you believe that some discoveries should remain private, that some relationships transcend the need for public validation, that trust is more valuable than proof. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories about connection across impossible boundaries, about teachers and students, about healers who work together despite everything that should divide them. And if you're out there, be wherever you are. Thank you for trusting me, for learning from me, for showing me that Elena's death led to something bigger than I imagined, that my refusal to accept preventable loss mattered beyond just my own practice. I hope you're still healing, still teaching, still refusing to let treatable injuries go untreated. That's the legacy we built together. And I hope your community is safe, hidden, free to practice medicine without interference. That's the gift I gave you by keeping silence. The tapes will stay hidden. Your trust will stay honored. That's my promise now and always.